Hey guys. So these three pieces are part of the final project I had to do for high school drawing 2 class. My theme was unique faces, and you might be asking yourself, Myron, why did you pick this black man, for a unique face? And what you don't know is he has scars that like circle around his face, but right now you don't see that. I did also like the silhouette of his face. He's got a very, very nice face. I sound weird. Anyway, I'm trying this technique right now called who fucking knows, but I discovered it from Loish. Her name reminds me of loins. Anyway, you take a lasso tool and an airbrush tool and you try to create the soft and hard edges using those two tools combined. The difference between me and Loish, can I just call her Loin, is she has, decades of experience, and in comparison I'm an art baby, so of course it's not going well for me right now, and I figured that out very quickly because I'm putting down horrendous colors, and I start using the gouache tool on Clip Studio Paint, and I'm realizing like I chose the wrong flat color and I'm trying to fix it. It's just too desaturated, and you can tell that I'm not experienced with either painting or painting dark skin tones because it's right there. I mean, why is the nose so saturated and the highlights are so, I don't fucking know. But anyway, I fixed the saturation, sort of, and right now I'm trying to figure out how to do the soft and hard edges while not using the lasso tool because I couldn't figure out how to do it. And finally I'm putting in more highlight because the contrast just wasn't there. In order to see like if the contrast is there, I usually like I go into the color settings and I turn all the saturation all the way down to see if there's enough contrast, and if there isn't, then I just, well, either way I reverse the color thing and I try to fix the contrast from there. Putting down more highlights because this guy's shiny. He's got great skin. Besides, the scarring circling his face. That doesn't mean that he don't got great skin though. And this is after the point where I'm like, okay, I'm glad I trusted the process because it's actually turning out pretty decent, and maybe I won't have to start over. And this was like 2 weeks before the project was due, so I was like, you know what, give yourself a pat on the back. You're actually doing something ahead of time and not procrastinating. Very proud of you. And I give some background color because I was just working on that default, mid-tone warm gray background that I always use. Working on those lips because they looked horrendous. At this point, I work my way down the body because I'm really excited to do his chest, not because I'm gay, though that might be a factor, but because I really liked the change in skin tone from like his clavicle to where his pecs start. It was just nice. I don't think I achieved it though. I feel like I should have used a different color, maybe something cooler than what I did for the highlights, because right now it looks like he has vitiligo, which would have made him, qualify for the unique faces category that I'm going with, but I didn't really want to do vitiligo for this. I did think about it though. There was a thing that I did. Anyway, I was satisfied with the skin, so I moved on to the clothing. Clothing is my weakness, bro. I do not know how to achieve the look of clothing with, the painterly style that I'm trying to go for. So I'm just trying to break it down into basic shapes, basic colors, and finding, if it's cool toned or warm toned, and go from there. And then I decide, sure, we'll add his shirt patterns, even though I'm pretty sure that's going to make it look less realistic, but I just had to do something to spice up that shirt. And finally, I'm out of those scars. I told you. It wasn't because he's black, it's because he's scarred. There's a difference. I really like the scars. They were a hassle to paint, but they were fun. And then I fucked around with whatever the fuck that was, and there we go. This guy, this person, I don't know who they are, but they were really cool looking. And I was going to originally do someone with vitiligo for this, but I couldn't get that face shape right, so then I switched to someone else. And as you can see, can't get the face shape right on this one either. It's like I have never seen a round face before. I usually draw like sharp jaw lines, and you can see how that has affected me. I'm really fumbling here, but I get to a point where I'm happy, and I start adding color and everything turns out great. But I picked this person's face because they had freckles that just like coated the entirety of like their cheek. Now this is the point where I start adding color, and you might have realized like, oh, that piece was in black and white. Why is this in color? Well, you know, I'm trying to I'm following Cynic's designs technique now, where I add the dark colors first around the, I already forgot what the hell the term is called. I'm such a good artist. Anyway, I could not get the contrast right, so I went ahead and went black and white. And I think this was a great decision for this piece in particular. I shouldn't rely on that too often, because I do gotta get over my fear of color. I really do. But at this point, it was like, I had already procrastinated, and this was like a day before it was due. So I was like, okay, I have 2 pieces. Well, if I just have 2 really good pieces, then maybe it'll be fine. Turns out I needed another one. So, you know, it didn't really work out for me. But turning it into black and white pushed me through. And I was realizing, ooh, I'm trusting the process and things are turning out good. I really like this piece. And that nose gave me so much trouble, bro. I keep going back to it. The little highlight on the upper lip, I might be a little weird, but I really do like it. I think my favorite part about this piece actually is like, you know, the Cupid's bow highlight, and then that bit of highlight that I put off to the side right there. That bit of brightness to me just like clicked everything together. I think I could have done more with the chin. I feel like the weakness in this face is the chin, and that big patch of darkness under the bangs. Finally, I changed the background from brown to gray, because this whole time I turned my display to black and white, so I didn't have to go into my reference image and then change the saturation all the way to 0 and then plug the reference image back into Clip Studio Paint, because apparently 30 seconds of editing is too much for me. So I just changed my whole display, didn't realize that the background was still brown, yada yada, now it's gray. I am satisfied with the face at this point. I'm tired of working on the hair. I remember I went from hair to clothing because I was like, fuck this hair. I mean, like, there's hardly any recognizable shape in the reference image itself, so I was struggling to figure out what the hell I was gonna do here. But I was like, you know what, that's for future Myron to worry about. So I'm just kind of scribbling with the gouache tool and trying to get the contrast where needed. I feel like I could have done a lot more with like this poofy jacket, because I think in some places you can't even tell like what the hell you're looking at. Kind of just looks like a big textured blob. But again, I was on a time crunch, and this was for a school project, and at some point you gotta be like okay, I was a senior in a class that was mostly like, there were some freshmen, there was some sophomore, and there was some junior. So like all of my underclassmen, I was the only senior in there. I had joined like the last half of the last semester. Like already I was off to a bad ending, I guess. So I'm like, fuck it, you know, I think my skill level is fine enough for me to just like bullshit some areas and still be like, yeah, I tried my best. You saw I kind of chopped that person's head off right there, cause I didn't know how to do like the weird floof that was going on. I really did like it and I wanted to keep it, but I couldn't figure out how to do it, and it was pissing me off, so I just got rid of it, as all good artists should definitely do. You know, if you don't want to draw hands, just hide them behind the back, cause hands don't exist. And at this point I was like, yes, I'm so close to finishing. Come on, Myron. Just a little bit more, and then bam. I finished, and I felt great. I actually love that piece. Now, you might notice. What is this? What is this? What is this? I self-plagiarized. I know. I self-plagiarized. I took a piece from like 2 years ago that I did an AP art when I was just as sad, and I basically just painted over it, because this was 2 days after the deadline. There's like 2 days until school ends, and I'm like, shit, I have a missing as a final grade, and I need to get my shit together. So I self-plagiarized. Basically throughout this whole thing, I'm just fixing past me oh my god, wow, I'm just fixing past me's mistakes. That was a tongue twister. I'm increasing the highlights and stuff, and I'm using the saturation to my advantage, because as you can see in like especially the first piece, I go way too desaturated on accident. It's hard for me to work in saturated colors for some reason. But I do think the saturated colors worked in this piece's favor. And I bullshitted the hair. You can tell I bullshitted the hair. It looks so bad and so flat. If I just spent a little bit more time on it, I feel like I could have gotten it somewhere. But this wasn't exactly something I was trying to do for myself. And I just wanted it done and over with so I can get out of school and not have to worry about anything again. But yeah, that's basically the end. I barely upload. I don't know who's gonna see this, but if you saw it and if you liked my yapping, tell me if I should do this again, because I do draw, and I draw more than just this. I draw a bunch of fan art. I like drawing men, if you can't tell. Yeah. Bye-bye.